I could externally blame the system and look for all of the flaws, or I could take radical responsibility and choose to work in a system that supported my values, that supported the way that I wanted to live, that supported the way that I wanted to nurse.
Hello, and welcome to the Nurse Boss Shift. It's your girl, Dr. Kiiyonna Jones.
And I'm Christal P, the Beauty NP.
And today we have a special guest, the healthy, happy nurse, which I absolutely love that name. When I read your bio, the first thing I saw was that it said the healthy, happy nurse. And her name is Michelle Gordon. So, Michelle, if you could just give us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background as a nurse.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's so great to be here. My name's Michelle Gordon. I'm based in Queensland, Australia. I'm a mum of 3 children and nurse of 26 years. And I've got an extensive nursing background, critical care, emergency, radiology, plastic surgery, and it's endless. And I'm now a nurse, coach, and mentor, and I help women and nurses become free from overwhelm and burnout and create a life they love.
I love that. And honestly, when I see the healthy, happy nurse, I'm like, there's a story behind this. And we need to hear it because that doesn't just come from anywhere. And so as I was reading your bio, I would love for you to talk about just kind of your trajectory and how you became the healthy, happy nurse, or how this coaching program kind of started. What was the background that led up to its conception?
Yeah, amazing. So I wasn't always a healthy, happy nurse. There's a big story behind that. And between 2016 to 2018, I hit rock bottom and suffered severe, debilitating burnout. I also hit alcoholism and severe anxiety. And I found myself, working harder, and just in this slippery slope of burnout, living on the hamster wheel. It started off as me feeling exhausted and overwhelmed, and eventually that ended in physical, mental, and emotional collapse. And at the time, I was working full-time in an emergency department, raising 3 children. My beautiful husband has his own business, and I was supporting him with his business. And I hit that rock bottom. And when I was reaching out for help in my workplace here in Australia, we have a program that the public health system offer their employees for counselling and psychological services. I had reached out 2 or 3 times, went to those appointments and had the therapy and the counselling, and there was nothing was moving the needle for me. Like nothing was changing. I would go back to the same habits, the same thoughts, the same feelings, and continue on. There was no real change happening in my life, and I just wondered how was this happening? And I knew that I needed to make a change, or I actually felt like I was going to die. That's how sick I had become and how mentally unwell I'd become. And I discovered life coaching, and I worked with a coach, and it was this incredible transformation and rapid change that I noticed in my mental health, my physical health, me moving forward rather than staying stuck, that I actually realized that I was being offered, and other nurses here in Australia too are being offered this modality that doesn't always work, this type of help. So that's when I went, rightio, there's something in this, and I want to recreate this somewhat for nurses. And I guess my desire back then was to be healthy and happy. And that's what I became. I became a nurse that had energy. I was showing up, nailing all my shifts, and felt great coming home, being a mum, and life was great. But I knew that there was more to it and that I could somehow support nurses to also create that in their life. So that's what birthed myself as a coach.
I love that.
Yeah.
So when you talk about your burnout you were experiencing, was that from the daily shifts of being a nurse in the emergency room? Was it just all too overwhelming, or was it just life in general was overwhelming and created the burnout? Or
Good question. It was a combination of everything. Mostly the demands of nursing and what I was seeing as a nurse. And I was working in resus, pretty much every day. And I had learned, like so many nurses do, is not to feel their emotions, is just to move on, bad shift, whatever outcome happened, in that shift with that particular patient or patients, it was like, all right, we've got to move on. We can't process that because somebody else is coming in the door. And what happened over time was that just accumulated in me not dealing with any of my emotions, going home and self-medicating with alcohol, and then realizing that I didn't have enough energy to be a mum as well. So I think, it all sort of accumulated, but mostly it was trying to deal with the demands of nursing, and I hadn't done that.
And so you identified that there was a problem. And then how did you know, or what was your process to actually find a solution to that problem? Because you said you already had went to your public health system and sought the services that they have. So what made you think that that wasn't it and that it was just you? Right? Because a lot of times we're just like, well, this is just it. This is just, it's what I have to deal with, rather than, you know what, I'm going to go and search for more. What was that process like for you?
Yeah. So after, I think, 2 or 3 reaching out for help in the traditional, I guess, modality and support offered, I was like, this has to be just the way I have to live. And then eventually I hit rock bottom, and there was a couple of moments in my that happened over a couple of months where I went, my health is so bad. I actually feel like I'm not going to be around here much more. And if I do not fix this, then I'm gone. Like, my children don't have a mum. My husband doesn't have his wife. Like, what is all this for? And it was almost like this moment of, do I seek out something and know that there's more for me, or do I just put up with this is the way life has to be? And even though I'm an amazing nurse, I'm struggling and sacrificing my own health and happiness. And that was then not an option. I was like, I've done this and that's not working. So I reached out to a health and fitness coach at the start who got me back on track, and I stopped numbing and escaping with alcohol, and I eventually got into this really routine of self-care, and I hadn't ever done that before. And that then led me to this whole journey of mindset work, which I then sort of started to branch out after working with her. I did a lot of Tony Robbins' work. I then did some Joe Dispenza's work, and I just went on this big, I guess, down this rabbit warren of personal development. And I was like, oh my gosh, the power of my mind, of my thoughts, and taking action and taking radical responsibility started to rapidly change my physical world and my reality. So I started to see just everything changing, my energy come back, my health, my vitality for life. And people started then saying, what are you doing? Like, you're so different now. You're showing up at work so confident, so alive. Your skin's bright. You've got all this energy. You're in these resus situations and you're taking control, like you're all over it. And I was just in this amazing place. And that's when I thought, that I could see then that other nurses really needed help and support the way that I did. And perhaps they weren't as in the situation that I was, but they were also struggling, many of the nurses that I could see around me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I would love to know, just hearing you talk. Okay, so there's two perspectives of this burnout, right? One is the systemic issues that exist. And then coming from your perspective, I've actually interviewed another nurse on another thing that I was hosting, and she really believed in self-care as the solution for burnout, like, setting boundaries and, really taking care of yourself. And they gave her such a hard time when she was more like, this is how you work through these experiences. And it kind of made the listeners feel as if it was our fault and we had to correct it versus like this system that's being created. So what are your thoughts on that coming from? Because if it's a mindset and really attracting the life you want, and then that makes it better, or do you feel like it's a combination of the two? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, I love this. So, you know what? The system's broken. Here in Australia, it's broken, right? I've been in the nursing, in the healthcare industry as a nurse for 26 years. Before that, I was a personal care worker. The system has never been amazing, and I know you experience it in the States as well, right?
Yeah,
it's not perfect. Sure. And I wanted to blame the system time and time again and blame and externally say that this is so bad and this needs to be fixed and blah, 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 blah. And in reality, I could have fought against that forever and ever and ever, and maybe something may have changed in the future, and likely it didn't, right? There were some changes made. Then COVID hit and that changed everything again, right? So no one was expecting that. And this is the stance that I took. I could externally blame the system and look for all of the flaws, or I could take radical responsibility and choose to work in a system that supported my values, that supported the way that I wanted to live, that supported the way that I wanted to nurse. And that's what I decided to do differently, rather than go, I don't have time, I have to do a double shift. I started to look at, why am I doing a double shift? Why am I doing that? Do I have the choice to say no? Yes, I do. So what I realized was I was a people pleaser and I couldn't say no, right? So most nurses resonate with people pleasing.
Yes, for sure.
I was a perfectionist, and I wanted to, at the end of every shift, I wanted to make sure that everyone was alive and everyone was well and everyone was amazing and that everything was perfect and all my patients had a bow on them, or, it was impossible. My standards were so impossible that I would leave not only physically exhausted, but I was burning myself out because I had these impossible standards that I was trying to reach in an imperfect system. And yes, that's great. We need nurses who have amazing high standards like that, but not to the detriment of our own well-being. And then I started to realize that I had completely lost sight of my own values, right? So I was living by the system's values, and I had completely abandoned my own core values. And that was when I really discovered, well, what does Michelle, the person, value, not Michelle, the nurse? I love having freedom in my life. I love my health, happiness, joy, family. These are all the things that I really value. And yet I wasn't honoring any of them. I wasn't giving myself any freedom. I was working 24/7. I was not valuing my family. I was not valuing my health or happiness. So the hospital system that I was working in wasn't going to do that for me. So I had to choose to honor my own values and discover what that looked like. And then I realized that, was this community and environment that I was working in, was it aligned with actually what I wanted? Did I still want to be an ED nurse? And no, I didn't. I was done with critical care, and yet I continued to try and prove myself, right? So I realized that there was a lot of self-worth stuff coming up. The workload was obviously intense. There was nothing I could do about that. The reward, like there's so many different things, and what they say, contributes to burnout is a mismatch of the community that you're in, the environment that you're in, the workload that you're in, the lack of control or perceived lack of control, values, and the reward that you're getting back. And if one or more of those things are out of alignment, then you are likely to be unhappy and possibly burn out. And that's all of those things happened. But also I'd realized that there were several contributing patterns that I was running that were fueling me to want to be showing up with these unachievable standards and continue to say yes when I physically couldn't give any more. Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense. And I agree with you. One of my, and I see it all the time on social where everyone's just so focused on the healthcare system. My motto, and this is with my business, this is with my life, everything is my fault. By taking accountability, that gives me the power to change it. Now, if the problem is that I work for a hospital or healthcare system that does not appreciate me, that is not paying me well, that does not respect my time, then I have the power to leave that healthcare system and find one that is in alignment with what I desire for my life. And so I feel like what people miss is the power that comes with taking control and saying, it's my fault. So when you say it's my fault, then the next question is like, well, what are you going to do about it? Because now it's on you. But if I say it's the system fault, then that takes me away from being accountable, but it's not going to change my situation. Nothing. Now we can fight for it over the long haul. Like we can go and, strike and whatever we need to do, but we need to know that the immediacy is not going to be there.
Yes.
So, and we have a short life. So what are we going to do now that is going to improve our lives? And so that's why I asked you that question, because I think a lot of people stop spending so much time on the blame game and take your power. Did you start a business because of it? What did you do for your life? Because they're taking care of their shareholders. They're taking care of their stockholders.
Absolutely.
You're not the priority. And I know that doesn't feel good, but imagine if everyone thought like that, the power that would come along with it. It's like, so I can do something. Yes, you can. You don't have to stay here.
Yes.
You don't have to. You can use your license as an entrepreneur. You can do so many other things. You can leave the profession altogether if you wanted to. I think what you're also saying, Michelle, is that there's so much power in. I mean, what we don't realize is we have given our power away by our identity being wrapped in nursing. Like you can't even separate yourself. Oh, well, can you tell me something about yourself? Oh, I'm a nurse. It's like, okay, what about you?
What else?
It's but that's a profession. That's not who you weren't born a nurse.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that. So that's why I wanted to ask you that.
Because
I feel like you're coming from the it's my fault perspective. Now let me do something about it. And I think that's a very powerful stance to take in taking ownership of our lives.
Absolutely. And that's one of the first things that I get my clients to do is you've got to take radical responsibility now. What are your values? What do you want to do with your career? How many days do you want to work? What do you want in your life? And most of them haven't ever thought about that because they're the nurse in the system and this is what they do. And most of the women that I work with don't even know what lights them up. All they know is nursing. Like their identity and everything is so tangled up in the nurse profession that outside of that, they actually don't know who they are. which is really,
They
really
don't.
sad. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. So, okay, so let's just switch reels a little bit. So you went through this journey. You identified that there's such a need for other nurses. And then you decided to make it a coaching program. Tell us that shift. How did what happened?
Yeah, so after 2018, I had that 2-year period of burnout where I was, constantly spinning the wheels, not getting anywhere. And 2018, I actually drew a line in the sand and said, this is it. So that's when I embarked on my own healing journey. I worked with 2 coaches or so, did some programs, and then went on and realized that there was so much more that I hadn't tapped into, like mindset work, limiting beliefs, values work. And so I took myself over that year. It was about 12 months, and I came out the other side. I'd lost a lot of weight. I was fit, healthy, strong, energized. Everything in my life had changed. And I had people reaching out to me, my colleagues around me, saying, what have you done? What are you doing? Tell me how you're doing it, because you are a different person. I want some of that. And I continued to have people reaching out, messaging me, asking me, pulling me aside. And I thought about it for a month or two. And I went, there's a real need here to help nurses, create a life they love, overcome the spinning wheels and the hamster wheel and the burnout cycles, and actually be in their power, take back their power and their radical responsibility, find out who they are. So I documented everything that I had done in that 12 months and realized that there was a real sequence of events that took place. And I wrote a program based on the steps that I took. And I created an online course. And that now here I am, I released that in March 2020. So this will be 4 years I've been running that program, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of nurses through, and I've combined that with coaching. So I take these nurses through, coach them through the things that come up, and that's where it started.
How did you know or think that you could do that? Did you, I know you had coaching, but online program. Did you see someone do an online program? Did you say, let me just put this up and see what happens? Or
I think
how was that journey?
That was one of the scariest things that the next level for me was, how do I know this is going to work, that I can do this, that I can coach? Because I started to then really dive into uncharted territory of the entrepreneur, and I had my husband and I have a business, so I know business, but me stepping out fully as myself was a whole different thing. And at first I didn't believe that I could do this. I was like, I'm just going to see what happens and create this, and I'll just see if this takes off. And every time, there was several periods in that first 12 months that I wanted to give up and just, no, I'll just go back to full-time nursing. It's okay. I've got kind of a backup plan. But I'd always receive messages or someone reaching out saying, can you help me? Can you help me?
Right when you were about to quit, right? It'll be like you've given up, and then you get that jump start. You're back in it.
That's what happened every time. And then I thought, this is no coincidence. Like, I'm not meant to stop, because every time that I wanted to quit and not go ahead with my coaching and expand and grow my business, I'd get a message, and I was like, okay, universe, I'm listening. I'm here.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that I could. And it's been a real self-belief work in progress for me to get to where I am now.
There's 2 things that I really want to highlight for our listeners that you said and before Christal's question. And you basically identified a gap in the marketplace,
Yep.
right? Because you went through the public health system and you didn't feel that you received the care that you needed. And then in addition to that, you look, as you were getting better, then you could clearly see the gap between yourself and your colleagues. So that you identify the gap, and then you had what we call a product market fit, because you had this, it wasn't a product, it was an idea, but you had the market and you didn't know it, which was your healthcare colleagues coming to you saying, like, what are you doing? And so what people don't understand, if they just pay attention, like give more attention to what's happening around you. And what I always say, you have a solution to someone's problem. What is that solution? And then those people who have that problem that you have the solution for, really dedicate yourself to helping them, and the money is gonna come. And I think, and you can tell me what you think about this, Michelle, I think, and I'm biased, of course, but I feel like nurses are the best fit to be in this coaching space. It's dominated by men, I know it, but I feel like our profession, like, and the fact that we are women, is like the best position to be in to set us up for success as coaches. I would love to know your thoughts on that.
Oh, absolutely. Nurses make the best coaches because we're used to dealing with people and speaking to people and supporting them. And, you know, our intuition, we have this beautiful intuitive side to us. And honestly, I have had so many nurses that have come and done my program, who came to me burnt out, rock bottom, same as me, and have then had this beautiful awakening and transformation. And now I'm supporting them in their side hustles and getting their businesses up. So I think last year I helped 6 nurses create their side hustles, and many of them were coaching businesses. And that's the thing. I didn't have like you said, hone in and just be aware of what's happening around you to see what is needed. Where's that gap? When I was burnt out, I couldn't see. I was just getting by. You know, I was just going through the motions.
Good point.
When I healed and came back with this new energy and vitality, it was like I could see all of not all of them, but a lot of my colleagues around me just struggling, like that, you know, going home, when is the bottle shop open on the way home so I can grab that wine? And, you know, like, this is all the stuff that they were saying, but I couldn't hear that before because I was in it. So I very much had that clarity and awareness of there is a huge need for this type of support for nurses, because what the support that they were getting that I had received was some random person on the end of a phone sitting there listening and talking about feelings and try, you know, like there was just no connection whatsoever. And when you're that burnt out, you can't feel anything anyway. So you just, it's just talking. It's like so robotic that it wasn't therapeutic at all.
I know when I first started, or one of my first businesses was centered around nurses and self-care. And similar to you, when I started on my self-care journey, then I was able to see all the other nurses around me, and the things that they say may not have perked my ears up before, but now they're complaining about, you know, neck issues and back issues. And I'm like, well, have you went to the doctor? No, I don't have time for that. It's like, no, you have to take care of yourself. So I do understand what you're saying about when you start on your own journey and when you're able to heal, and that allows you to hear things you may not have heard before. Because you're also, before you're healed, especially when it comes to burnout, then you're in the nursing station complaining, my neck and my back hurts too. I haven't been to the doctor in however long. Versus once you're healed, then you can be able to then coach, you know, others and see the gaps where other people need to heal as well. And I wanted to ask you also, what is your favorite part about coaching, being that you went through that and you healed in your own journey? What is your favorite part of coaching nurses now, being on the other side?
Everything. I absolutely love it. It's my favorite thing to do ever. You know, I suppose I get messages every day from either my clients who have reconnected with life, like with living, with actual true living, not struggle and sacrifice, which they'd done perhaps most of their life. And the joy that comes back into their life, the health, the happiness, the energy, the connection with family is a big one too. So I've had several of my clients' husbands reach out to me, send me messages saying, thank you for giving my wife back to me and my children.
Aww.
Like that, I tell you, I get so teary and emotional because that's what it's about. Like these women are back in their families' lives. They're there, they're present, and they're not, the shell of the person that they had been for so long.
And I just feel like, coaching will never go out of style. I don't care if it's just how to manage being a stay-at-home mom with kids or how to, be a soccer mom. Like it's always a solution to somebody's problem. And I wish people stopped overcomplicating it and simplifying it. It's like, I don't care what you say, there's something you do well, right? And you can help someone else. And I think nurses in particular should really dive into that. Plus, we have the World Wide Web. So what I love about your business model, Michelle, is it applies to any nurse on any continent. So it's really, you're not just, I only help nurses in Australia, but it's like, I can help nurses in the US. I can help nurses in London and in Europe, wherever, because generally speaking, we suffer from the same challenges. And I absolutely love that. I wanted to ask you, you're a neuro-linguistic program practitioner and a Reiki level 2 practitioner. I know Reiki, I've heard of it before, and I'm probably saying it wrong. Reiki or Reiki? Which one?
Reiki.
Reiki.
Yeah.
Reiki practitioner. I've heard of Reiki. I have never practiced it. I think it was just at an event or something. I would love for you to tell us a little bit about that. Do you get certified or like what is?
Yeah. So here in Australia, I'm a level 2, so I haven't done my level 3 yet. However, I have been practicing and doing a little bit of Reiki on clients as well that want to use that. It's energy healing. So that has been also a big part of my journey too, was tapping into some more spiritual, I guess, healing modalities and exploring other things. I know nurses are very science-based, and Reiki was a beautiful way that I healed in terms of energy and intuitive. So I went and saw my Reiki practitioner who noticed that I was holding a lot of stagnant energy, emotions, unhealed trauma in my body. And basically it's a hands-on healing. People practice it. You can do it virtual and or in person, and it was a hands-on body healing. So she was able to identify the different chakras in the body, and those big energy centers that were I guess not working so well because of the holding on of the energy and trauma. So I had such a profound experience in one session with her that I was like, wow, I want to know more about this. So it's just been a beautiful little practice that I have definitely used in my own life and offer it to clients as well, more to do with energy, spirituality, that type of thing. Yeah.
Got it. And so is that included in your course? Do they get that or your?
No.
I think you have, it's a 12-week, right?
Yeah. So no, that's not included. I haven't sort of brought that in. I think for the clients and the nurses that come to me, it's often their first time in personal development. It's generally their first port of coaching. And for me, I know that I wasn't ready for Reiki when I was burnt out. My head wasn't ready for it. I needed practical steps and solutions. So my 12-week program is very practical and kind of leads you to somewhat, I guess everyone is different, whether, the spiritual journey that they go on or whatever. Everyone has a different journey. And if they then want to go and explore Reiki, then that's something that we can do sort of one-to-one afterwards.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
No, I was just saying, what's the linguistics portion of your coaching?
Yeah. So this NLP is a coaching, I guess, another modality that you can use. It's all about the brain, how we filter information, the subconscious mind, conscious mind, how we process information, our beliefs, conditioning. It's all about how that brain works and how we communicate. And that has been a really incredible tool for me to not only for my own journey, but to work with clients and really go back and untangle a lot of the internal conditioning that they come with and beliefs and thoughts, and really help them to rewire some of those ingrained, I guess, beliefs, conditioning, patterns, programs that have been driving their behavior to date. And for me, I started to untangle when I started on my own healing journey was, why do I feel like I have to overcompensate and over function? And I had a very big ingrained belief about working really hard to get anywhere in life. Yeah. And
for sure,
NLP has been a really beautiful modality to help my clients unlock that. And I facilitate that just through coaching them, the questions that I ask, and some of the activities we do. Yeah.
I love that so much, though. And just being able to step outside, because I know everything, well, not everything, but a lot of times nurses, we think most things revolve around nursing. So to be able to step out and learn, like you said, other modalities that could possibly help us and have us better service our clients, but also serve ourselves and our family, I think is super important. So let me ask you, Michelle, about your programs. So I know you have a couple programs and how people can work with you. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your health and happiness formula, and then also the private coaching that you offer.
Yeah. So the Health and Happiness Formula is a 12-week online program. Anyone can join this program. It's for nurses. I've had hundreds of nurses go through this program, and we have a group. It's a group program. So at the moment, I have about 10 or so nurses that are in this group. We have a call every second week. We have a group call, and that's generally I coach on there, do some hot seat coaching, and generally talk about a topic that is coming up or that is of interest. Tonight we are talking about the 5 love languages and getting to know what our love languages are, which is really good.
I love that.
Yeah, and so that runs for 12 weeks. The online course component is done, so each person does that at their own pace. They work through the online course workbooks, videos, and as well as the group coaching calls over the 12 weeks, there's a one-to-one call with me. So the first call is a real beautiful alignment call to help them really map out their goals, their values, and the action steps that need to happen. That's really individual to them. So, that's been running, like I said, for nearly 4 years now, and it's just beautiful.
Wow. I love that. And are you taking nurses all over the globe, or do you have? Okay.
Yeah, so good. I have some spots for January still left open. They're available, and I've had nurses from the States, lots of nurses in Australia. So anyone that is a great fit can do this.
Okay. And then you also work with those who are on a one-to-one basis as well. And tell me what that program is like and who is it for?
Yeah. So this is typically for the nurse who has, like I said, many of the nurses that have gone through the Health and Happiness Formula 12 weeks have kind of gone off, had a bit of a break, really refound themselves and and many of them have gone on to start a side hustle. And a lot of them have come back to want to sort of be coached in how does that work? What do I do? And I typically support them to map out what their side hustle will look like, what their offers are, pricing, social media marketing, that type of thing. So that's a real one-to-one, sort of more bespoke coaching. Yeah.
I was just asking, are you doing the coaching full time now? Are you out of nursing?
I left my emergency nursing job in 2022. I took a year and a half off, and now I'm still, this is the nursing identity piece, right? I'm doing some very casual shifts. So very casual shifts in occupational health and safety nursing now, which is workplace medicals. It's great. I go in and do that, one day. I think the last time I did that was one day in December. So I think that's going to, stay casual, and my coaching's full time.
I feel like it's because we still love being a nurse. I was like, I always make fun of it on social. It's like such an oxymoron because we talk so much trash about it, but we like, I love being a nurse. I love being a nurse. Like,
I know.
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
So and you just need a little to just fill your tank up. And then you're okay.
And I love the patient contact. That's what I missed so badly. Like after I finished in the emergency department and having that year or so off, I just really miss the patient contact. And my shifts now in Occ Health and Safety are just so fun. Like I do their medicals, we have great conversations, and it's just really easy. So
yeah, for sure. I love that. Okay, and so how can they find you? Where are you on socials? Do you have a website that you want them to go ahead and look you up on?
Yeah, so the best place to find me is Instagram, and that's at MichelleGordon_coach. My website is thehealthyhappynurse.com, but I'm mostly on Instagram, and anyone can message me there and reach out and see what I've got going on. So
Awesome. And you guys, make sure you go ahead and follow Michelle. Michelle, this has been an amazing interview. I promise I'm never disappointed interviewing nurses, because the ones who are audacious enough to step out, we are amazing. Like, we are really shaping what nursing looks like. I often have people say, when I say I'm a nurse entrepreneur, they're like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you'll find out.
Absolutely.
We're growing. We're creating our space. So I definitely want to thank you too for being a change agent, and just like what burnout looks like, and like how we can be better as nurses. I think if we work on our happiness, then we can be better nurses to our patients as well as to our family, of course, but to our patients as well. Because when you identify your story, because a lot of times we are the reason, like we allow ourselves to feel obligated, and we have shaped our profession. I was just talking about this on another podcast, is that we supposed to suffer. It's like we suffer. It's like a badge of honor when you're a nurse to like run yourself low, and that's not it. It's not a badge of honor. It's horrible for us to do that. So I love that you are stepping out and helping nurses kind of find their happy space in nursing and as healthcare professionals. So thank you so much for joining us, you guys. As always, we will continue to bring you guys the dope people. If you have nurses who are aspiring entrepreneurs, or just nurses who want to hear just a great conversation about our industry, don't forget to share, you guys. Don't be stingy. Let them know about the Nurse Boss Shift, you guys. Until next time, bye.